Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Appreciate everybody stopping by. If you guys could, subscribe. If not, go to hell. Just leave comments, likes, whatever. You guys are going to come back anyway. You know what is funny? Like most of the viewers are not subscribers, but I think you are returning viewers, So, just hit that button one time, baby. What's it going to hurt? You get a little notification when we come here. All right. So, Heat stories today. We are getting close to training camp. The Miami Heat, they announced today, Robinhood, the stock exchange app, is their new jersey sponsor. That was the feather that they had put out. So there you go. The Miami Heat are now going to have a feather. They are not, I guess, essentially self-sponsored as they were with the Carnival Cruise Lines patch. But by the way, good on Mickey. Like, listen, if you're not going to get the deal that you want, you should self-advertise. F that, right? Like, what do you need to sit here and figure things out? But they are good looking thing. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of jersey sponsors. I'm not a soccer head. I know in soccer they're like, come on, love, it's what we do. But it is what it is. They have it's a 3-year deal, and I think some people have made the point that I think Wes Goldberg, Ira Winderman, they both reported this, that the Miami Heat have they did this deal in participation with Clutch Sports, and that is one of those things that's interesting because the Heat for a while did not really have a relationship with Clutch Sports. If you guys don't know Clutch, it's essentially LeBron's agency, run by Rich Paul. Rich Paul has become a very, very powerful agent. This man, represents the biggest athlete in the world, is going to marry the biggest singer in the world. Has made has had a hell of a run for himself. But obviously, the Miami Heat and LeBron's exit was pretty frosty at the while of things, and so. This is, I think, interesting to some Heat fans because, it opens up the door for Clutch clients to come back. The Miami Heat also signed this year Alec Burks, who is represented by Clutch. So make of that what you will. They're a powerful agency. You always want to have as good relationships as you can with all of these things. And agent relationships are interesting. That's a kind of a big thing that everybody's making this year with the Heat and Jimmy Butler's agency. And then you had the thing where, the Heat had a good relationship with Damian Lillard's agent, probably too strong. And that's essentially what led to things getting as awry as they did because maybe he was too boisterous in public. You have you think about Henry Thomas, Dwayne Wade's agent, and the importance that he's had with the Miami Heat and many of their clients, and Udonis Haslem, and that type of relationship. So, yeah, a lot of people do say like agents do run the NBA in certain circles, and this has definitely been a bit of a burned bridge, seemingly, for the Miami Heat. So the idea that this, now mind you, this is done on the business side of things. This isn't necessarily on the basketball things, but they do have a Clutch agent now here, and really essentially one of the Heat's few free agent moves this offseason to sign Alec to the team. So I don't know what it means other than I guess if LeBron and things go awry in LA this year, maybe there'll be some flair sent up for him and Bronny to get traded to the Heat. I don't know. I don't know what you want to make of it. But that agent thing is definitely always something interesting to keep an eye on. Speaking of things to keep an eye on, this was just put out as I record this around 8:05. Shams just tweeted out that Kawhi Leonard underwent a procedure in his knee in the offseason. Sources tell me and Law Murray. And it says that Kawhi Leonard, the franchise said today that Kawhi will be limited to strengthening his knee at the start of training camp. Team officials are optimistic about his progress. And when I see things like this, the one thing that does interest me, I know a lot of people are frustrated with Jimmy Butler and are frustrated with his playing time and frustrated with all that. But I gotta say, Kawhi Leonard was definitely a whale that I wanted for the Miami Heat back in the day, and he's so good when he plays. He gives Jimmy fits a lot of the times. Like every time it feels like they face off, he always seems like he gets the better of Jimmy. Of course, he has that famous shot in that series where Jimmy was amazing against the Raptors, which inevitably led Jimmy Butler coming to the Miami Heat. Kawhi's awesome, man, when he plays, but that's a real issue. Like serious knee issues that continue to plague him, and you just can't feel good. With Jimmy, yes, aging, always has the bumps and the bruises, but up until spraining the MCL, like really it never had a huge major one. It always been like a bang up here, a fall on your tailbone there. And I think Jimmy, when he plays, Jimmy plays a very physical style. I can agree that, did he bring it full tilt this year, or did he try and, coast and flip into to it's that time? Yeah, it bit him in the ass this year. The one thing, though, I'll say to Heat fans who are frustrated with Jimmy, and I don't feel how you want to feel, but for the most part, Jimmy Butler and his era with the Miami Heat has been a raging success. He has been awesome for the Miami Heat. And everything that you have felt that has really mattered when you've gotten to stick it to Boston or stick it to New York or have these elite playoff moments again that you hadn't really had since D. Wade, he is the big responsibility of that. And there is a reason that you put through with all of these missing at least 17 games. Do I need Jimmy Butler to play a little bit more? Of course I want Jimmy Butler to play a little bit more, but I don't think it is a Kawhi Leonard situation. And I am looking forward to seeing what he brings this year, especially if you do buy into theory. This is going to be a balls to the wall year where he is going to go pedal to the metal to try and earn another contract. I don't really see who that's negative for. I think this is going to be something that is talked about at training camp, and he's going to be asked about it and asked about the Pat Riley press conference. I don't think it's going to be a very big deal. I think Jimmy Butler, first of all, is been very keen at squashing a lot of things other than like the TJ Warren beef, or like legit fights on the court with people. I don't see this as something that's going to be like this huge thing. It may be little things. If the Heat don't, especially if the Heat don't play well, then maybe things behind the scenes get frosty. They could. But man, it's not the Kawhi situation. It's not that. Now, one good piece of news, Terry Rozier, is reported today by Anthony Chang of the Miami Herald, where he said that Terry Rozier cleared for 5-on-5 as we record this on Tuesday, officially a week out from Miami Heat training camp starting in the Bahamas, which did, make fun of this to Caron Butler and say, Bahamas, really? He said they're bringing the Heat culture anywhere. If you guys haven't seen that interview with Caron, but he says Heat culture goes anywhere, baby. I still would have liked it at an Army base. I think it would have been a good year for an Army base training camp. But that is great news that Terry Rozier is going to be good to go. I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the clips that was circling the rounds on Heat Twitter was a clip from Patrick Beverley's podcast. And he had said that he believes that the X factor of the Miami Heat is not Tyler Hero. He believes it is Terry Rozier. That if you look at the Heat point guards over the Heat's time, that's really been a big factor in seeing how good they are. And I got to say, it's not a terrible point by him. Like Goran Dragic, when Goran Dragic was at his best, especially in the playoffs, even though he wasn't the starting point guard for most of the regular season, that first finals year, Kendrick Nunn was. Kendrick Nunn was a tremendous rookie that year. Was winning Eastern Conference Rookie of the Month essentially every single month that year. And then when they got to the bubble, Goran Dragic was amazing. Gabe Vincent, then you had a year where Goran, kind of tailed off a little bit. Kendrick Nunn kind of tailed off a little bit. So the next year's, was that the biggest factor? Yeah, weird year. The Heat played into the bubble, back-to-back seasons. I thought that was, in the regular season, individually, one of Jimmy's best performances to kind of keep the Heat where they were. But we know what happened to them when they got there. They got smoked by the Milwaukee Bucks. Then they get Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's first year with the Miami Heat, tremendous. Tremendous first year, really held the ship afloat. By the way, Kyle Lowry was working out with Bam Adebayo today in the wee hours of the morning. But Kyle Lowry, his first year with the Miami Heat, raging success. And he was an X factor. Even with him having his own personal stuff that he was going through that year, then even the next year where things weren't quite as good, you had the emergence of Gabe Vincent, which he had a big hand in developing Gabe Vincent. A lot of the guys on the team really do like Kyle. Bam, one of his favorite teammates. Gabe Vincent, big respect to a lot of the things that he'd done. Tyler Hero, same way, and we all know that he was very close with Jimmy. So that hand in what he did this first year and what he did with Gabe Vincent, yeah, both very important. And then the point now of Terry Rozier being the Heat's X factor, I think is a fair point by Patrick Beverley, because having that next guy in that backcourt with Tyler, I don't see Tyler Hero as an X factor, and I don't say that as a knock on his play. His only factor that we need to know are games played. That's it. I think we know very much what Tyler Hero can bring to the table of the Miami Heat. If there is a big leap, then there's a big leap. Then yes, that can be an X factor, but I think that is just dictated mostly on playing games. Terry is the interesting one because we don't know yet what the best of him looks like in a winning situation after many years in Charlotte. We've seen what he was able to do on some playoff performances against for the Boston Celtics. And now how does this mix together with the Miami Heat? So it's great news that he is cleared, because I do think there is a big chance that he can be that X factor for the Miami Heat and be that next point guard. So thought it was a good point by Patrick Beverley, that if the Heat are going to make a better run at this thing this year, obviously your horse has got to be running. Jimmy's got to play and Tyler's got to play and Bam is going to play because Bam plays. But and maybe it'll be Jaime and maybe Nico and maybe one of those guys make leaps, but that's kind of natural. Like, that's natural progression. X factor. What's the missing ingredient in all of this? Terry Rozier could be that. That's the X factor. We don't really know yet. We didn't get to see that. That is the reason the Heat made the trade, because the thing with Kyle had just reached its point. It had run its course, and they made a trade with Terry. And I think you could make the argument now, was it worth giving up a first-round pick or just taking the cap space? Sure, you could have made that point. At the time, I do think it was needed, because if they were really going to do what they did, they needed to make some kind of a change. It was an obvious. It wasn't a home run trade for me if you're a Miami Heat. It was a double. It was like, hey, you made good contact on that, and we don't know if it could turn into more. That's why it is the X factor. So, interesting point by Patrick Beverley, but great news that Terry will be good to go for training camp.